Hey everyone, it's Billy Rood from 58 Magazine, and welcome to my new series about the esoteric symbolism in storytelling. In this series, we'll give deeper insight into the creativity behind storytelling based upon the myth of our life force, our energy that came down and took upon itself matter. And today I will talk about the film Tenet, directed by Christopher Nolan. And Christopher Nolan has mentioned in many interviews that he is an esoteric filmmaker. And if you have seen his films such as Memento, the Dark Knight Trilogy, The Prestige, Inception and Interstellar, they are full of esoteric and occult knowledge and teachings. Mainly the ascension of consciousness by understanding how you create your own reality. And also, if you study the director's work, he follows a similar theme in all his films. The main protagonist is usually a male who is a thief, spy, criminal, or vigilante that follows a strict code due to his tortured past and the death of a significant other, usually a woman due to an outside force or villain. He also uses trains, water, layers, banks, and color in his film symbolically. The main character, who is usually male, symbolizes consciousness, our male aspect, and the woman represents energy, our feminine aspect. And if you have not seen Tenet, then please do not watch this video because it is full of spoilers. But it also won't ruin your experience if you have not seen the film. It will only enhance it, and I recommend watching it a few times, as it's an amazing experiment in capturing the thought process in both forwards and backwards in time. After you have watched Tenet, watch this video again and everything will click and you'll see it from another perspective and state of consciousness. But before we begin, first let's look at the film as a study of the Sator square, which is an ancient palindrome composed of 5 words: Sator, Arepo, Tenet, Opera, and Rhotus. This is a 4th dimensional palindrome. It can be read in 4 directions: horizontally from the left, horizontally from the right, vertically from the left, and vertically from the right. The square has a mystical purpose and is a configuration of a symbol intended to focus and ignite the viewer to a more transcendental place. And these words are also the names of characters in the film. Sator is the Russian oligarch, the antagonist representing the altered ego. Arepo is the unseen Spanish art forger of the 2 Goya paintings. And Rhotus is the name of the security guards who protect the Freeport. And Tenet means principle or belief in the religious and philosophical sense.
What the word means is the notion of belief, and there's a sense in which we're addressing the idea that we're all sort of imprisoned in a way in our own views of the passage of time, of what's going on in the world, all the rest. And so there is this kind of leap of faith to the idea of an objective reality. So there's the idea of belief or faith involved with what these characters are choosing to invest in terms of what's really going on in the story.
Which this film represents the mystical idea of faith in the mechanics of the universe, because if you rearrange the letters, you get something like this. These words form the shape of a cross, and Pater Nostro translates to Our Father. The Father represents the mind or consciousness. The A and O represents Alpha, and the Omega, which represents God or the divine. With this translation, we can see that this palindrome says consciousness is God. The consciousness of God and the consciousness of man is one. This is part of a Kabbalistic mandala that symbolizes the original cosmic act of creation and the creative forces involved in the manifestation of the universe. In God's mind is desire to give creative expression to that one idea by thinking it into parts. And desire in the light of mind is the power quality of mind. So desire is the soul of mind, the will of mind. And God expresses the desire of mind to manifest his idea by creating this electric wave universe. And this electric universe is the sole product of God's mind. And all product of God or man is the result of desire of mind to create product. And Tenet is a film that is trying to educate us on how energy is expressed in 3-dimensional reality. energy expressed is like the countless actions of a movie or film. The energy simulated in the movie is in the picture rather than in the source of the picture, and the motion expressed simulates the energy in the idea, which has been projected from an undivided mental source through a divided electric wave source by the way of a fulcrum zero upon which the wave oscillates. And to simplify, we are the master playwright or protagonist, and we project upon the screen of space with the light of his or her knowing through the light lenses of his or her electric thinking. I know this is a bit heady, but try to stay with me.
We'll try and keep up.
The implications of this are
Beyond secret.
In the very first scene of this film starts at an opera. This represents the mind in harmony, all operating in a keynote of harmony until disharmony enters the mind when we see the masked terrorists. The main character, the protagonist, then enters his mind with an operation to bring back an undercover agent. All of the symbolism in Nolan's films are archetypes about our mythic life force and psyche, and the main study of Tenet is Nolan's take on polarity energy, or the classic fairy tale or spiritual journey, also known as the hero's journey. The fairy tale symbolism is a male character that represents consciousness and a female character that represents energy that is imprisoned or controlled by an abusive man or woman, which represents the psychotic and implanted lower mind war, polarity and control, a dark and light, positive, negative, a twilight world.
We live in a twilight world.
and there are no friends at dusk.
You've been made. This siege is a blind for them to vanish you.
And this psychotic altered ego controls our energy until we build a consciousness strong enough to face itself and free our feminine energy.
You've got the suit, the shoes, the watch. I think you're a little out of your depth. The drawing has his hold over me. He threatened me with police, prison, the works. He controls me. My contact with my son, everything. Leaving would never have been easy, but now it's impossible. You can't fight. Just beg. In Vietnam, I tried to love him again. Thought if there was love there, he might give me my son back. I sat on that bloody boat watching the sunsets, imitating some earlier time in our lives. He seemed happy, so I asked him. And he made me an offer. Let me go if I agreed never to see my son again. I expressed myself. I took Max ashore. He called us, contrite. And when we got back, I glimpsed some other woman diving off the boat and he'd vanished. I never felt such envy.
You don't seem the jealous type.
Of her freedom.
And these stories are about the unseen forces inside of us, our psyche, our soul, our consciousness, and energy. To free these aspects of ourselves from this psychotic lower mind, we must enter a new state of consciousness and symbolically die. And this is represented in this scene in Tenet.
Welcome to the afterlife.
Side pills are fake. Why?
A test. You chose to die instead of giving up your colleagues.
We all believe we'd run into the burning building. But until we feel that heat, we can never know. You do. This is about survival. Whose? Everyone's. This is knowledge divided. All I have for you is a gesture in combination with a word, Tenet.
In this gesture, called Tenet, which by definition is the main theme of the film, it is to maintain belief in the mechanics and polarity of the universe.
That test you passed? Not everybody does.
So with this information, let's look deeper into this film with this concept that this is the mind of the protagonist. When we mentally die and pass this test, we free a part of our energy that fills us with knowledge. The idea of entropy and how we can possibly reverse the natural process of decline by the self-realization of mind is God. That we create reality by our tenets, our belief in self.
Aim it and pull the trigger.
It's empty.
Aim it. Check the magazine.
How?
Inversion. And this concept is actually happening right now.
His death activates the algorithm. He dies, the world ends. No one dares kill him.
No, you've missed the point. He's intending to end his life.
Why?
He's dying. Inoperable pancreatic cancer.
And he's taking the world with him.
If he can't happen, no one can.
How?
One of these bullets is like us, traveling forwards through time. The other one's going backwards. Can you tell which is which? How about now? It's inverted. Its entropy runs backwards, so to our eyes, its movement is reversed. We think it's a type of inverse radiation triggered by nuclear fission.
This concept of inverted material that can travel backwards in time from the future is what I want to explain and symbolize as thought, because thought creates matter. Thought is energy, your energy, and matter is energy vibrating at a geometric and slower rate of physicality. The bullets in this scene is about cause and effect, but not linearly. The same can be considered in terms of the bullets representing thought. The sound of a pistol shot is a body of accumulated thought waves. These must unwind and rewind before they can reproduce a sound body, like both positive and negative thought. Because thought is energy, a pulsing and vibrant force that creates matter.
Try it. You have to have dropped it.
How can it move before I touch it?
From your point of view, you caught it, but from the bullet's point of view, you dropped it.
But cause comes before effect.
No, that's just the way we see time.
Well, what about free will?
That bullet wouldn't have moved if you hadn't put your hand there. Either way we run the tape, you made it happen. Don't try to understand it. Feel it.
Instinct. Got it.
Cause is eternally at rest.
Why does it feel so strange?
You're not shooting the bullet. You're catching it.
Whoa.
In the balanced unity of the undivided light, cause is one. Effect is eternally in motion to seek balance and rest in the centering equilibrium of the two opposed lights of this divided universe, which it finds only to lose. An effect is two. The idea of the bullet is divided into two opposed polarities of effect, and is the job of mind, which we call thinking. Mind thinking sets divided idea into two-way opposed motion to produce the effect of stimulating idea by giving form to it, and matter is the electric record of thought. This is a thought wave universe, and this war is about thought, the mind.
I'm not saying Armageddon here.
The bullet may not seem like much, but it's a simple machine. Lead bullet, brass casing, gunpowder. If they can invert that, I see no reason they couldn't invert pretty much anything. Even a nuclear weapon can only affect our future. An inverted weapon might be able to affect our past as well. Now that we know what to look for, we're finding more and more inverted material. Remnants of complex objects.
What do you think we're seeing?
The detritus of a coming war.
With full understanding of the heartbeat principle of interchange between the two opposites of electric expression, and by learning to think cyclically rather than linearly, will help you to exit the illusion of time and empower you to create your ideas. This is a universe of light at rest, from which two opposed lights of motion appear to manifest the idea, which is eternally sealed in the light at rest. The idea is but stimulated by matter in motion. The idea never leaves its invisible state to become visible matter. Bodies which manifest idea are made in the image of their creators' imaginings. And this is represented by the introduction of the character Priya. The feminine energy inside of us has to be expressed by the masculine consciousness on the brain called mind, and she is the vessel of idea.
To say anything about a client would violate the tenets he lives by.
If tenets are important to you, then you can tell me everything.
Priya,
This is your operation.
a masculine front in a man's world has its uses. The dealer you're looking for sounds Sator.
The Russian oligarch.
You know him?
Not personally. Made his billions in gas. Moved to London. Said they'll be on the outs with Moscow.
Very good. Except the gas he made his billions from was actually plutonium.
None of which explains how or why you sold him inverted munitions.
When I sold him the rounds, they were perfectly ordinary.
So how did he get them inverted?
I believe he's functioning as some sort of a broker between our time and the future.
He can communicate with the future.
We all do, don't we? Emails, credit cards, texts, anything that goes into the record speaks directly to the future. The question is, can the future speak back?
And I'm supposed to find out.
To get anywhere near Sator would take a fresh-faced protagonist. And you are fresh as a daisy. Get close. Find out what he's receiving and how.
In the light of each individual mind is desire to dramatize or create this one idea by dividing our unconditioned, unchanged unity of balance and rest into pairs of oppositely conditioned units.
You got something.
Not gonna like it.
You want to crash a plane?
But not from the air. No, it's so dramatic. I would have run a jet off the taxiway, and breached a real wall, and start a fire.
Well, how big a plane?
That part is a little dramatic.
Positive and negative thought that forever interchange with each other for balance and rest. And these two conditions in direction of compression and expansion are necessary for a two-way interchange of motion, which performs the work of integrating and disintegrating the living and dying cycles of opposed motion, which this electric universe is. We live in a bewildering complex world of effect, of which we know not of the cause. And the film is about cause and effect, which we call thinking. Thinking is the cause. Matter is the effect.
What the hell happened here?
It hasn't happened yet.
Mind thinking sets divided ideas into two-way opposed motion to produce the effect of simulating idea by giving form to it. These two electric thought conditions is called concentration and decentration. Because of its seemingly infinite multiplicity and complexity, we fail to vision the simple underlying principle of balance in all things. For ages, we have thought of matter as being substance, and that it is real, but it is just the effect. The cause is energy, thought. By understanding the principle of polarity which divides the universal equilibrium into pairs of oppositely conditioned mates to create an electric two-way universe. Electricity is divided into two equal and opposite forces which thrust away from each other to build this polarized universe. and these two pairs of opposed electric spiral vortices are the basic units which construct all matter. Together they form the electric waves of motion, which create the various pressure conditions which are needed to produce the many seemingly different elements of visible and invisible matter. This energy or polarity is our feminine and masculine aspects, which is portrayed by the colors red and blue. And sex is the creative principle. It is the dual desire force in mind for expressing its one idea. Without a division of the one unconditioned light into two seemingly conditioned lights, creation could not be. Sex is not a thing, it is a condition of a thing. An electricity balanced condition of anything is sexless, whether it be man, woman, electric battery, or the atmosphere.
There's a Cold War.
Nuclear?
Temporal.
Time travel?
No. Technology that can invert an object's entropy.
You mean reverse chronology? Like Feynman and Wheeler's notion of a positron and electron moving backwards in time?
Sure, that's exactly what I meant.
Every action of motion in the universe is a result of sex desire for motion from a state of rest, or for rest from a state of motion. Our desire then multiplies these thoughts in infinity of eternal reputations to give form, matter, to the creator's imagination.
Sator's built a turnstile in that vault.
Turnstile.
A machine for inverting.
You told me that technology hasn't been invented yet.
That hasn't. He's been given it by the future.
For what?
You have the best chance of finding out. What if you have something he needs?
Such as?
A terrorist bomb, even one that can kill millions, is nothing compared with what can happen if you don't stop Sator.
From doing what?
We are being attacked by the future. And Sator's helping. You have to find out how.
And all formed matter are created in his or her image. Every creation is an extension from its creator.
Andre Sator holds all of our lives in his hands, not just yours. Well, I'm going, so any tips will be welcome. Wheeler, briefing.
You'll need your own air. Regular air won't pass through the membranes of inverted lungs. Number 1 rule, don't come into contact with your forward self. It's the whole point of these barriers and protective suits.
Oh, we don't have time.
Well, if your particles come into contact...
What?
Annihilation.
That would be bad, right?
When you exit the airlock, take a moment to orient yourself. Things will feel strange. When you run, the wind will be at your back. You encounter fire, ice will form on your clothes as the transfer of heat is reversed. Gravity will feel normal, but if you're reversed for the world around you. You may experience distortions in your vision and hearing. This is normal.
Can I drive a car? Cowboy shit.
I can't vouch for the handling. Friction and wind resistance are reversed. You are inverted. The world does not.
What's the transponder on the case?
We've tossed that case.
I'm moving backwards. It's the ball I have to follow. Give me the reader.
You ready?
It is projected from him or her by a force which is within its creator and not in the projected planet or environment. When you create thought forms for your ideas, your conception expands from the 0 point of its beginning. You build a complete mental 3-dimensional form for the idea and create a body to simulate that idea. You then work tirelessly from thinking that idea and then rest for an interval before again thinking it into further form. The physical forms of matter appear when mind concentrates by thinking idea. They disappear when mind deconcentrates to rest from thinking idea. An electric matter is but a mirror which reflects qualities outside of itself to stimulate those qualities within itself. Mind thinking is electric. Concentration and deconcentrative sequences of electric thinking produce the opposed pressures, compression and expansion, which form solid bodies of motion surrounded by gaseous space in one wave pulsation and reverse that order in the next. Concentrative thinking is centripetal. It focuses to a point. It borns gravity. It charges by multiplying low potential into high and cold into heat. Decentrative thinking is centrifugal. It expands into space. It borns radiation. It discharges by dividing high potential into low and heat into cold. All motion is a continuous two-way journey in opposite directions between two destinations. And one destination is the apex of cone in the incandescent center of gravity. At this point, motion comes to rest and reverses its direction. So as long as the creator's mind, your mind, divides his or her knowing by their thinking, just so long will that two-way motion continue its sequences of cycles to record God's imaginings in forms of his or her imaginings. And all suffering is due to not knowing that waves of motion are the thought waves of the universal thinker. We have to learn to balance our thinking in order to create an idea. Desire of mind expresses its desire through the electric process of thinking. Thinking divides idea into pairs of oppositely conditioned units of motion, which record a simulation of idea into thought forms. And matter moves only to seek rest and balance. Motion simulates in the cinema universe of macrocosmic make-believe. The black vacuity of cold space is the expanded other half. Together, these two are as much mates as male and female are mates. Each is equally essential to the other. And these two opposite polar ends is nature's magnet. Each finds balance in the other by voiding each other's unbalance.
Inversion, they're not objects or peoples, the world around us.
I don't understand.
As they invert the entropy of more and more objects, the two directions of time are becoming more intertwined. But because the environment's entropy flows in our direction, we dominate. They're always swimming upstream. It's what saved your life. Inverted explosion was pushing against the environment.
Pissing in the wind.
And the algorithm can change the direction of that wind. It can invert the entropy of the world.
If that happens...
Oh. End of play.
End of play. Can you be a little more precise?
Everyone and everything that's ever lived, destroyed instantly. Precise enough?
Including my son.
The more you sleep, the faster you heal. But in the future, those in power clearly believe that you can kick Grandpa downstairs, gouge his eyes out, slit his throat without consequence.
Could they be right?
Doesn't matter. They believe it. So they're willing to destroy us. Can I go back to sleep now?
No, I thought of something else.
Great.
That's reversing the flow of time. Doesn't us being here now mean it never happened? Could we stop them?
Optimistically, I'd say that's right.
Pessimistically?
In a parallel worlds theory, we can't know the relationship between consciousness and multiple realities. Is your head hurt yet?
Yes.
You've been divided into two teams for a temporal pincer movement. We're red team moving forward. In order to distinguish the teams, you'll wear these. Our friends over there, blue team, led by Commander Wheeler, are inverted.
Why don't they let us see them? Maybe we won't like what happened.
1 hour from now, they had this briefing. Then we're dropped on the ridge above the hypercenter as close in time to the detonation as possible. Their objectives were clearance and clarification. Now, this briefing has the benefit of their experience. Both teams have countdown watches. Ours counts down from 10 from landing to 0 to the explosion. Blue team is reversed.
If you are not at the LZ at 0, you are not leaving. You understand?
We drop in, clear LZs for blue team evacuation. We make our way into the city proper. These buildings are abandoned, but we learned there is a turnstile. Expect a bitemporal response. On the other side of the city, ground rises to the ridge above the hypercenter. The splinter unit will take this tunnel from the city to the floor of the hypercenter. Blue team located an entrance here. The bomb is in this rock, high above to trigger a collapse, sealing the cavern.
How do we defuse the bomb up there?
We've done. The explosion takes place as planned. Our job is to fail to defuse that bomb, while the splinter unit achieves its task undetected.
Which is?
Need to know and you're done. Any other stupid questions? Good, well, let's go. Let's get ready.
I wanted to be on the first wave.
There is no first wave. Red team and blue team operate simultaneously. Look, don't get on the chopper if you can't stop thinking in linear terms. Now, you want to be on the team that lifts the contents of the capsule.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's us. We're splitting it.
Just us.
No one who knows the contents of that capsule can leave it filled. I thought we manage ourselves.
And this is visualized in Tenet as compression and expansion, which is necessary for the two-way interchange of motion, which performs the work of integrating and disintegrating the living-dying cycles of opposed motion to balance each other out. And just check this out. This visual is one of my favorite parts of this movie. I mean, just look at it. I could just watch it over and over. It's just so fun to look at and amazing visually. We may define creation as a mind-imagined electric extension from a point and its retraction to that point. And this universe is the sum total of electric actions and reactions expressed in thought waves of two-way motion. We shouldn't think of sequential effects only, but should also think of the simultaneous workings of all two-way expressions. This is how nature works. As a solid apple falls, an equal potential simultaneously rises. When the apple falls, it charges the earth and discharges space. And when the apple rises, it simultaneously charges space and discharges the earth. If I put my hand down in water, an amount equal to that which is displaced by my hand simultaneously rises. What he or she thinks of his or her living body is but an electrically motivated machine which simulates life through motion extended to it from its centering self-soul, which alone lives and wills the body to move. Man and woman is on their way to this cosmic goal of oneness with their creator, and they can in no way deviate from that fixed orbit which will eventually take them to their destination of glory in the high heavens. By disobeying the law, you are but hurting yourself while on this journey.
You have started looking at the world in a new way.
I'm the protagonist of this operation.
You are a protagonist. Did you think you were the only one capable of saving the world?
No. But I am.
There's a rally point offshore at Trondheim. Get yourselves up there. Ives has a team ready to invert. But there are some people in the future who want to continue the algorithm's journey into the past. You see, Tenet wasn't founded in the past. It will be founded in the future.
Make this journey must balance every unbalanced action while on the way. It is though a man or woman on a great ocean liner disobeyed the laws of the ship. In spite of their disobedience, the ship is taking them to his destination and he must go with it. Likewise, they will hurt themselves by lessening the happiness while on this journey.
Worst thing Andre ever did to me was that offer he made me. Let me go if I agreed never to see my son again. I shouted and swore. But he's seen it on my face just for an instant. I considered it. I don't know if I hate him more for what he's done, because he knows that about me. A chance to help save my child, you can't know what that means to a mother. You've killed people you've hated before.
It's not usually personal.
Oh, he's dying anyway. Maybe it doesn't even count.
It always counts, Kat. You're not there to kill him. You're the backstop. If we don't lift that algorithm and he kills himself, he takes us all with him.
You just keep up your end, okay?
When it's over, when you're raising your boy, carry this. There may be a time and place you feel threatened. Hit talk, state your location, hang up.
Who gets the message?
Posterity.
Posterity, which means future generations, must learn to think of matter as energy only, but slowed down. The secret of man and woman's power. The power within any mass can be used against itself, just as a man and woman can and does use their own great power against him or herself. A new power will be this ability to project gravity in the shape of a high potential focused from a point to a distant focal point instead of projecting radiation only. An outward explosion from dynamite, for example, is radioactive. It is effective but for a limited distance from the source of the explosion. Inward explosion is like gravity and is effective where projected. The evil in man and woman springs from fear, for the safety and security of their body, and from greed for the satisfaction of bodily desires. Remove these, and man and woman will naturally respond to the good in him or her. For all men and women seek the peace, happiness, and security which only a balanced system of human relationships will give them. And we must first realize that creation is but the electric thinking of idea expressed by moving body forms imagined in the mind of the Creator. The moving body forms are created in the image of the Creator's imaginings. The body forms are not idea, but they simulate the idea. When we create thought forms for our ideas, our conception expands from the 0 point of its beginning. We build a complete mental three-dimensional form for this idea and create a body to simulate that idea. We then tire from thinking that idea and rest for an interval before again thinking it into further form. The thoughts which we extend to cause body forms to appear, we now attract and they disappear. And body forms of matter appear when mind concentrates by thinking the idea. They disappear when mind deconcentrates to rest from thinking the idea. It might be difficult to make the jump in thinking from a universe of just real and dependable substance or matter, to then jump to the idea of a universe made out of thought waves of motion, whose sole purpose of matter is to record these thought imaginings. The result of such motion is to create a make-believe universe in which both substance and form are simulated by as many states of motion as there are simulated substances and forms in matter. And the sole purpose of men and women on earth is to manifest your Creator, your divine director, your Tenet. There is no other purpose. The sole desire of man on earth is to find peace and happiness. The only way that man can find peace and happiness is to discover this unity with this Creator. The greatest miracle which can happen to any man or woman is the discovery of self.
What's happened's happened, which is an expression of faith in the mechanics of the world. It's not an excuse to do nothing.
Fate?
Call it what you want.
What do you call it?
Reality.
And the oneness with all other men and women. And the sole desire of men and women on earth is to find peace and happiness. And the only way we can find this peace and happiness...
Hey, you never did tell me who recruited you, Neil.
Haven't you guessed by now? You did. Only not when you thought.
...is to discover this unity with our Creator, our divine director, our consciousness and energy.
Control operations to Temporal Pincer.
Whose?
Yours! You're only halfway there. I'll see you at the beginning, friend.
This is the greatest miracle which can happen to any man or woman, this true discovery of self and the oneness with all other men and women.
I realized I wasn't working for you. We've both been working for me. I'm the protagonist.
Then you'd better tie up those loose ends.
It's the bomb that didn't go off. The
danger no one knew was real. That's the one with the real power to change the world.
And the law of balance.
We've had our mission. Plan now.
The underlying law of creation is rhythmic, balanced interchange in all transactions in nature. It is the manifestation of God's two opposing desires in all processes of creation. Balance is the principle of unity, of oneness. Balance is the foundation of the universe. In it is the stability which lies in cause. And balanced interchange simulates oneness by interchange between pairs of opposites. It is the principle of equal giving between all moving pairs of unbalanced opposites which constitute this dual electric universe. In it is the instability of effect. Instability is forever seeking to find stability. It can never find it, but it can simulate it by balancing its instability through equality of interchange. And this rhythmic balanced interchange is the principle of continuity of effect. Balanced interchange between opposites repeats simulation of stability, and the rhythmic balanced interchange continues that repetition. All substances of matter, like yourself, are but different states of motion, of energy. We must recognize that this universe consists of vibrating waves of two-way interchanging motion. Just like how a harp string, when plucked, the sound is caused by rapid motion, and time is the rhythmic illusion of motion sequences. Time appears only when motion in matter begins. Time disappears when motion sequences end, and when both action and reaction come to rest and simultaneously withdraw the vitality, the life, the energy. Every effect of motion is voided as it occurs, and is recorded as it is voided, and repeated as it is recorded. Time is the pendulum of motion, and time's purpose is to record the heartbeat of two-way motion. And by looking at Tenet and understanding how energy works in two opposed motion, and understanding how energy creates matter, and understanding that thoughts create matter, or your reality.
It's happened. If I told you and you acted differently, who knows? The policy is to suppress.
Whose policy?
Ours, my friend. We're the people saving the world from what might have been.
You will then begin the ascension of your consciousness, and that you are the creator of your reality and no one else. Your thoughts create matter. Your beliefs, your tenets, create your reality. So believe in yourself and know that you are the creator of your reality and no one else. And then you will find true happiness and peace and oneness with yourself and all others.